Welcome to X-Men Evolution, episode 37 of Cyclops is Waiting for Me, an X-Men animated recap podcast. I'm Rod, and I'm hydrated today.
You know, you've been hydrated for the past 2 weeks of episodes, so...
I have to, especially today, because in the morning I get a root canal.
That's true. Which is why we recorded multiple episodes this week. I am JC, and I am amazed that your little demon cat is behaving so well, because normally she's sick of our shit at this time. Cyclops is Waiting for Me is our weekly podcast series. We're going back and watching every single X-Men animated episode that we can find. This podcast started with the original 1992 X-Men The Animated Series, which was building up to the release of X-Men 97. And along the way, we also launched our companion show called the Xavier Files, also in this feed, that has interviews with members of the X-Men community, which includes voice actors from the series, as well as our shitposting meme lord friend. But since season 2 of X-Men 97 is a ways off, we are back to our second half of our first ever watch through of X-Men Evolution. Just a quick reminder, we do have an affiliate link in the description of this where you can get the making of book for X-Men 97. It doesn't ship until April, but you should pre-order it because it also helps us out because it's an affiliate link, and those are good.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be a great book because the other two X-Men animated series books were pretty comprehensive.
I mean, literally, the first one that Eric Lewald did was our Bible for the original 92 run. So
it's what the internet would have been, or the information wiki would have been. I don't want to say internet. What the wiki would have been if it was in the 90s.
I think he wrote it after Wikipedia had started, though.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, though. Like, this is like what we have now on the internet, information-wise, except correct and from the creators. Yeah, back then. Because when we were watching the show back then in the original 92 series, like, we were just kind of like guessing and going by like schoolyard rumors.
And then episodes aired out of order, and Jean was being mourned even though she had just been resurrected as the Phoenix. Shit was weird. Rod, let's keep going.
It was fun. So this episode's called the... Oh, I'm off the script now. So quick reminders. We're a recap show about a series that started over 20 years ago.
Are you hydrating with vodka?
I wish. I can't drink alcohol this week. If you don't want to spoil it for you, pause the podcast, watch the episode, and come back. We're currently not sponsored by or affiliated with Marvel Animation, Disney, or Disney Plus in any way. Although I think we have a shot now after seeing Deadpool 3, or Deadpool and Wolverine.
Because of the amount of fucks that they said in that movie?
Just everything. I don't think we've done or said anything worse than they've said.
We might be on the same level, though.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see when Cyclops gets introduced to the MCU, if they ever bring up his semen. But besides that, I don't think we've said anything worse.
Don't forget to follow us on social media at Cyclops IWFM Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Twitter and Facebook. And make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast services. Yeah, now we're caught up.
Yeah, now to the part that I was trying to do earlier. Today we're going to be talking about season 3, episode 7, titled The Toad, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is not incorrect but misleading. It aired November 9th, 2002, and currently sits at a 7.1 star rating on IMDb. Oh, wow. Okay, I guess I can see this being higher than the last episode.
The Extreme episode?
Yeah,
the episode that screamed 90s?
Yeah.
Even though it was the 2000s?
I will say, I kind of want to try Powerade, though.
To see if you're a mutant and if it poisons you?
Maybe. Whenever there's like a new beverage or something that sounds like it could be good, or whatever, maybe it's because it reminds me of Powerade, the sound of it. Because I'm not an energy drink guy because my heart can't take it.
Yeah,
but I want to try it once.
I was just gonna say that shit is basically Red Bull.
Yeah, so it's funny. I don't know what the concentration is in Red Bull, but like there was this drink when I was a kid from Korea called Bakhasti. If there's any Korean listeners or anybody that's familiar with it, maybe you can either corroborate this or my parents were lying to me, which is there's an equal chance either way. But it came in a very small bottle, like I want to say, you know those like mini yogurt liquid drinks that you can get from the grocery store in like 12 packs?
The Yoplait ones? Yeah,
the little ones. Well, even smaller than that. Like the Buckhouse used to come in that, and my parents would be like, since as an adult, you're only supposed to have one of these a day max. As a child, they could give me like a couple spoonfuls. And I remember liking the taste because it was still that citrus kind of taste you get from Red Bull, you know? And then like later on, like Red Bull, happened in America. And I was like, oh, this is Bakhasti, but with like other flavors in it.
Yep.
And I was like, are Americans just chugging whole cans of this? I was only allowed to have like 2 tablespoons when I was a kid.
I think your parents were lying to you. Although when I did go to Tokyo, they had smaller cans of Red Bull, and I don't know if it was just the flavor was different, but it did taste more concentrated. So maybe I don't know if that was stronger. I still drank 3 of them a day because I'm a psychopath, but and
maybe it's just like biologically, like a genetic thing too, because even today, like if I drink a Red Bull, like I'll have like, I don't know if heart palpitations are like the correct term, but like it's not a good day for me and like the way my chest feels. So.
If I don't drink a Red Bull, I think I'm gonna die.
You're like Bender from Futurama, like, I'm sober, oh my god. And he starts malfunctioning. Anyway, this opens up. They're in Italy because some really stereotypical Italian music is playing. I guess
and
because
the canals of Venice too.
I was gonna say because of the canals. I guess is supposed to be in Venice. Although it's funny, I know you don't watch with captions. The captions describe this as calm music. So I was like, I guess so, but I wouldn't have labeled it that.
I would have labeled it as stereotypical Italian music, like pseudo-offensive Italian stereotype.
Or maybe because of the setting, like romantic, because it was in the canals or something. I don't know.
Yep.
But the thing you're supposed to take away from the scene is there's someone running across the bridge over a canal, and it's weird. I don't know how to describe it. Like the person looked like Mo Sizlak from The Simpsons, like crossed with Logan, like Wolverine.
I thought it was Toad's dad for a hot second based on the shape of his face and stuff.
And then I didn't know if it was, what was the Morlock from the original series, from the 92 series? Was
the
that
one
Ape?
who turned into a table?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was Ape.
Ape? Yeah, I was like, are they bringing Ape into this?
No.
And then like as he's passing people, they're seeing him differently, and he's not shape-shifting because they did a good job animating it so that you would see that like he's not shifting, but they're just perceiving it differently. So I was like, is he a telepath?
Right. As soon as I saw the mustache, that's when I knew it was Jason Wingard Mastermind.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, just how gaunt and like the shape of his body. Like obviously this show is a little less realistic proportions than other versions of the series, but as soon as I saw like the shitty mustache and the trench coat, I knew that was Mastermind for me.
That's so funny that's like the prominent like thing of that character.
There's something about it. It's just like a total scumbag face. Like you're just like, oh,
that's funny. But he sees some weird stuff happening around, so he senses Magneto, or he says it. He's like, Magneto.
Yeah, there's like a pipe that's shaking, and he knows it's Magneto nearby, and then he like hops over a fence, and then he literally just gets like trapped around shit. So,
and then that's when Magneto calls him Mastermind. It's like, oh, I'm familiar with the name. I wasn't as familiar with the character to recognize him like appearance was. But essentially, Magneto is like hiring him. I don't know how to also describe it. He's like, I've got a job for you. Although I wonder if it's like less of a job, more of a, you can do this for me or die.
Or I'm going to force you to do it and then kill you later. So you might as if you come willingly, then I don't murder you.
Yeah. Oh, but that's right. Like he can't affect Magneto because Magneto's helmet. I guess they kept that thing from the. Was it the series or the? The movies.
That was the movies. Yeah.
So they kept that from the movies.
Yeah, and then it was just kind of like, he's scared of him, and they don't really establish why. But I was kind of wondering, like, what happened in their past. Quick note from the comics: the original Brotherhood was Magneto, Toad, Mastermind, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch.
Oh, interesting combo.
Yeah, that was the original Brotherhood, was that group with Mastermind included. So
is this another one of Magneto's exes that is making it everyone's problems?
I feel like this fuckboy version of Magneto could do better than him. Just same.
So then we cut away, or then that's when the intro happens. And then when we come back from the intro, I skipped it this time. If something new happens, someone tell us because I didn't watch it. And I think
I'll watch it like every 5 episodes.
Yeah. When they come back from the intro, there's a traffic jam on the bridge.
The 291 junction, which means nothing to me.
Yeah, I didn't know if that because they're in New York because for some reason I put them in the Bay Area, but no, they have to be in New York. But also, traffic jam on a bridge is maybe one of the few things in everyday life that could possibly give me like a full-on panic attack out of nowhere. Because
we have no bridges here in LA, so that's actually pretty good for you.
Yeah, driving over a bridge is fine for me most of the time. I have friends that I went to college with that were terrified about driving over bridges. I think like being helpless and sitting in one place on a bridge is like, oh my god, like we are just increasing infinitely the probability of horrible things happening, especially with the last year of newses. Collapsing bridges are not uncommon now.
Also, we're the generation that grew up watching Final Destination, which does not help.
Yeah, and the generations lived through 6 once-in-a-generation events.
In the last 20 years, not even our full lifetime.
Yeah. So then, what I feared would happen, something weird happens on the bridge. The top of the bridge catches fire. Wanda's in a taxi. I forgot to mention that. Wanda's in a taxi. The top of the bridge catches fire, and...
They're flaming horses.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this has to be Pyro, right? Or... Yes. A Pyro-like character that I'm unaware of, and it was Pyro.
It's Pyro, because we saw when Pyro did his debut as a part of the Acolytes in this, he was literally making, like, creatures out of the flame. Like he's a theater kid pyro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to see if he was doing anything else, but no, it was just the horses and then just general big flames and stuff. And then I thought this might have been a different situation, but in context of what we see later, I figured out that this is just a different perspective of this bridge fire. We see Amanda and Kurt walking at school, and they're basically talking about Amanda wanting Kurt to meet her parents, and so they're taking that step in the relationship, or whatever. And Kurt's like, I don't know, my image inducer has been on the fritz and stuff. He's like, well, you have an opportunity to get that fixed, right? You're not going like at this minute.
Yeah, like if your image inducer is on the fritz, maybe you shouldn't just be walking around in public with your girlfriend, and talk to Beast or Professor X about getting it taken care of.
And then she was like, I like you the way you are, and I want them to too. And then she just turns it off. I was like, bold move, dude. Like,
yeah, that was a choice that she made. And
he's like, what if someone sees me? And she's like, oh, that's silly. As Toad is watching across the alley.
From sitting on a trash can. Yeah, but he's like, fine, I'll go. I'll meet your parents, but I'm just not ready to show up looking like me yet. So
my argument for him would be like, what the compromise could be is like, you don't go using the image inducer, but maybe don't go in the leotard. Maybe that's a good, like,
wear his casual gear, but be blue. Also, maybe she should have a conversation with her parents about mutants in general to see how they react to, like, the word.
Yeah.
Did you see those people on TV? What do you think?
Or like maybe that was the thing. Like she saw them like yelling at whatever their version of Fox News was on TV or something.
They don't seem like a Fox News family.
Yeah, I know. After we meet them, I was like, okay, so that I don't think that was the problem.
Luckily, they get cut off because they see the fire in the distance.
And I think I just assumed that maybe this was another event and then
another fire.
But like then the next thing, like we cut to Scott and Jean driving, and they see the fire. I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is just them all seeing the same event from different perspectives.
So the only thing that was a little weird about the Scott and Jean part of it is they're like, oh, there's a fire in the distance. And that's like, if they're on like a freeway interchange or something like that, they're driving to the spot that all these people on the bridge have abandoned their car. Right. So there's no way for that traffic jam to clear up. And Scott speeds up and I'm like, you're not going to be able to get there. I guess park your car and then Jean telekinetically get you over there. She floats you guys over kind of scenario.
They do the monologue over something. That's always a time skip, right? You can keep talking. You talk in one sentence and you're finishing a sentence as you're arriving. TV magic. They see the bridge fire at the bridge. Wanda is stopping Pyro. He, as they're fighting, he kind of skips across the bridge and he drops something. I originally thought it was a keychain. I'm still not really sure what it was.
It was a keychain.
Oh, it was a keychain? Okay.
Well, sorry. It looks like a keychain, but it's like a pass for a skiing mountain.
Originally, I wrote it was Arrowhead, but I guess it was Arrow Rose.
Arrow Rose. I did get that. You must have been thinking about really bad bottled water.
Right. I think my mind auto-filled it when it flashed by just really quickly. But then my next note was like, what was Pyro's plan here? Because the bridge is over water and collapsing from the fire. Can he fly? He was just going to die with the bridge.
No, he's just going to get away.
How? So is he that fast? He was in the middle of the bridge.
He blows up the oil tanker, and then, Scarlet Witch is hanging off the side. The whole bridge is collapsing, and, I don't know how they thought they were. That bridge should not be still standing based on all the supports that are gone. I'm just going to say that.
That's what I mean. Because if he's up there starting fires and then after the oil tanker blows up, is unless he is Quicksilver, I don't think he can get from any middle point of that bridge to safety.
Maybe he's just not that smart.
Yeah, he's just going to go down with the ship.
Yeah. Magneto told him he would save him, and we know how that turned out for Leech.
No, too soon.
I know. As soon as I said Magneto will save him, I'm like, oh, shit, I got to go forward with the joke. It's awful, but I'm going to do it. Yeah.
I have had David Arrigo's Leech voice from our podcast episode in my head for weeks.
And then Storm arrives out of nowhere and makes it rain. Again, that bridge is fucked because there is no suspension on the suspension bridge anymore.
Yeah. And now it's waterlogged.
That's the least of their problems.
Right. It was going to be more weight, right? Because you have all these vehicles and whatever concrete stuff or pavement and stuff that's just
the water is not the issue in this one. I'm just going to say that.
So Scott and Jean are confronting Wanda. And
they're actually kind of pleasant with her. They're like, hey, so is everything okay? Why was he trying to kill you?
I guess that was part of it. Yeah, because she was the victim in this circumstance. But also they're probably we've seen what she can do. Let's not fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Wanda's Pyro was here to send a message from my father, Magneto, to stop looking for him. and Pietro. And then Jean's like, Pietro's not missing. He's back with the Brotherhood.
Which, I mean, granted, we had a break in between, but I'm like, oh yeah, so Scarlet Witch has just been like fucking around and didn't think to go back to the Brotherhood house.
And I guess that has to be another one of those like late 90s, early 2000s things where like it wasn't easily, you couldn't easily search someone, like online or something, but also it wasn't a tall order to look at, go visit at least or something.
I guess it was probably just the thought process of they're just all a bunch of losers, so she doesn't want to deal with them kind of scenario.
That's true, and Toad being gross.
Yep, multiple ways.
But then do that like kind of comedic cut to the house, the Brotherhood house, and I'd forgotten totally that Magneto had put Quicksilver in charge.
Yeah, because Gambit went in there and set him up in charge.
Yeah, and so he's being like that sitcom character that suddenly has an upper hand on him. He's making Blob make a sandwich for him.
Yeah, and even he's getting super specific with his order on it and stuff.
Yeah, I even forgot what he said because when Blob's walking back to the kitchen, he's like getting stuff confused. I'm like, yeah, those were really weird, specific things. Then
did you notice what was on the TV though? There was a weird, like, it was like
eyes popping out.
Well, no, before that, it was the first one. It looked like it was supposed to be like the Crocodile Hunter, but like a shitty version of it. And a snake bit the dude in the face before the TV lost reception.
I didn't see that. That's so funny.
It was so, like, I don't know why I hyper fixated on it as I was watching it. Because I was like, is that like a Steve Irwin thing? And literally the snake bit the dude in the cheek. I'm like, what is going on this TV show?
Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah, but then, the TV cuts out because we find out Toad is on the roof, I guess, holding the antenna. Which that definitely is like a sitcom trope that's been done. Like I think Steve Urkel did it at some point or something. Like there's always like take the person we don't like and put him on the roof with the TV antenna, but then he falls off the roof, I think.
Something like that.
Something goofy happens.
And then Lance and Quicksilver start to get into it because he's like, oh, did you fix the transmission? I got a bunch of dates coming up and I need to use your car. I love that this dude has this super powerful father and he's living in a pigsty and doesn't have his own car.
Yeah. And Lance is just, he's already over it before this conversation started, but he's looking for that half a reason. Mm-hmm. And then Quicksilver, like before Lance leaves the room, is like, oh, move that chair. It's in the way of the tube, which I honestly don't know if younger generations call it a tube anymore because that probably doesn't make sense, right?
Right, because it was tube TV, essentially. So, like, unless if they heard somebody say the phrase like boob tube, which they'd probably say was offensive now, then I don't know if they would even pick up on it. It's kind of like, when we do the hand signal of what it is to hold a phone. And they do theirs, and it's completely different. Like,
with the palm.
They do the palm because it's flat like a tablet. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. Our generation's turning into boomers, and I hate it, Rod.
Yep. The 2000s are the current 80s.
Yeah. Shut up. But yeah, he throws the chair, and it goes like through the window.
Rightfully so. Also, once again, whatever's left of the foundation is just continuously being chipped away at the more Lance is existing.
Lance living in the house is just fucking the whole thing up.
And then, like right on time, Pietro catches Wanda walking outside the house, like entering the house, and then he freaks out. This whole thing, like you mentioned
right after he gives a big leadership speech too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And to your point, like a couple episodes ago, about this being more of like the Buffy vibe or whatever. Even though I didn't watch Buffy, it definitely had more of like the 90s like TV show thing more than X-Men. Because he gives that big speech and then it's just like, as long as it's not this, wah wah, and then Wanda's not even doing anything cool. She's walking.
Right.
Like she can do anything
There's
else.
nothing about it that's like, oh, it's not even a moment. She just wanders by the window and he's like, I'm going to hide in the closet.
Yeah. She bursts in. She's like, where the hell is he? And they sell him out immediately.
And Toad is like happy to do it because it's like, ooh, she's back.
He had forgotten. I think, he'd always had kind of a crush on her. Mm-hmm. And then they really amplified it this episode. They made it like the central part of the story.
Very much so.
So she opens up the closet door and Pietro's cowering.
Yep.
He could have run anywhere, literally. He could have run to like another country.
Could have gotten away with no problem.
Yeah.
But he says, and I do believe him because of the terror in his voice, that he doesn't actually know where Magneto is. Mm-hmm. And he's literally just like, I just follow his orders when he tells me what's to do,
That's most like, you could tell, like, at least the writers like did better thinking for villains. than a lot, because that's usually a sign of like a good writing for a villain, right? When they're like, oh, I don't know where they are. I think
you can't sell them out if you don't know where they are.
Yeah, and this is not really a spoiler, but like just one of the things that happened in the Acolyte. Like, there's this mystery of like, where is your Dark Master? And it's like, I don't know where he is or whatever, because the whole thing about Jedi is like, we know that they can just like infiltrate your mind and stuff, so we just don't want you to have the information at all to even be able to involuntarily sell us out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's where we get the lift pass. That's what it is. There is a lift pass for the ski resort.
I'm not allowed to go skiing, so I don't know what those look like.
Allowed?
This started off when I was in high school, when my church youth group went on like a ski trip. And like, I think I didn't want to ski, and someone was trying to talk me into going. I went with the trip, but I just hung out in the lounge and stuff.
Okay.
And, a bunch of my friends were like, you got to go ski. I was like, think about what you know about me, then put that on a snowy slope where I'm less in control than ever. And they're like, you're right, we don't want to spend the day in the ER. And so from that point on, I was like, this is going to be something that's going to be left a mystery of life for me. Like, it's not on my bucket list. I don't care to fight to go ski or anything. I'll go hang with friends and ski.
That's the best case scenario of what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me about how you missed like most of your junior year because you put yourself into a coma after hitting a tree.
No, so the closest thing to that is the reason I'm not allowed to cook for friends is because there was a summer where a bunch of us were living in a house together for like a summer trip with a bunch of friends. And then we were taking turns making dinner each night, It was just fair. And me and my girlfriend at the time, who just started dating, she was equally bad as cooking. So they put us together because they thought it'd be cute for a relationship, but nobody thought about actually eating that night. So we were doing some like rice aroni helper thing or whatever, and that I don't know if people remember, I don't know if they still do it this way, but like you would heat the rice in oil in a pan, instead of like cooking it first.
You still do that first? Yep.
Okay, well I mean, like it would fry in oil instead of being cooked for like the dry rice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't familiar with that before, because like when my mom would make it, we would like cook the rice first and then put in whatever dish. So this was like dry rice goes into hot oil, and we were following directions and we were proud of ourselves for that. But then like, I think I almost said her name. I think she like turned around and like kind of startled me. And then I like took a jump back. My elbow hit the side of the frying pan and it like catapulted all this hot oil rice across the kitchen, hit one of the other friends in the face. And then we didn't quite go to the ER, but the rest of the night had to do with medical things. And from that point on, they're like, you two aren't allowed to cook anymore, but we're adding extra day to bathroom duty. We're like, that's fair.
So Toad recognizes the name of the ski resort and then immediately starts simping for Wanda hardcore.
He was like, hey, we can go on this romantic recon mission.
And then he's like, oh, what do I got to do to go with you? And then she like just gives the ultra bitchy like response of just be somebody else.
That's cold even for him.
Yeah, that was like, at the very least, you could be grateful that the dude told you where to go and just be like, I'm going by myself. Bye.
Yeah.
Like she gave that extra like turn of the knife,
Or knowing the time, the era that this was in, and Toad himself, and how she's been treated by other people in this show, that he didn't accost her first and actually said something, like asked, kind of,
Yeah. So she's like, all right, cool, going for it. And then we jump over to Kurt arriving in non-blue mode in a suit to Amanda's place.
And he acted like how I did at that age, where he gets to the door and Amanda's like, oh, you're here early. He's like, I'm sorry, I'll leave now. I remember saying stuff like that. Just be like, oh, I'm sorry. She's like, no, that was just like a data.
Yeah, it's just a statement. It's okay. And then the image inducer just like starts like sparking and it's like jumping in and out, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And he's just so awkward. And
he's wearing that fucking leotard instead of the clothes that he was the image inducer is making. And so the parents come out, and they, by everything we're signaled for in that scene, they seem like very progressive, like
chill as fuck,
very kind, very chill. They're just happy that like they're finding about a boyfriend from a dinner and not like breaking through a window or something,
One quick note, the mom's name, didn't write it down because I'm fucking awful, but it is actually the same name in the comic. Remember how when Joe Slepsky was on and we talked about how Amanda was like Kurt's stepsister in the circus, it's the same name for the mom, who's the mom in the comic too. In the comic, the dad is dead.
So they're kind of related.
They actually did a reference to Amanda and the mom, even though they're not using the story of it being the adoptive stepsister scenario.
We're going to go back to my quote from that episode where, you know what didn't happen in Shang-Chi and Wakanda Forever? Sibling romance.
Yeah.
That was wild. I remember I tell friends about that episode all the time because I'm like, because you two talked about that. I was like, wait, you guys skated past that way too normally. How many sisters did he date?
White people.
Yeah. It's like, holy cow, okay. Yeah, but anyway, in this specific scene...
In the circus, Rod. It was in the circus. We're not justifying it.
I guess. In this scene, assuming that this Kurt isn't related to his girlfriend, and it was just an Easter egg reference. Everybody seemed really hospitable and cool, and then Kurt's still being awkward. He said things that I would have said, like, here's some flowers for you, and then he was like, oh, not for you, for your mother, for Amanda's mother, and then... Amanda's mom is still being like really chill. She's like, "Oh, that's sweet, thanks. I'm going to put it in some water." And then those two, actually, Amanda's dad and mom go to the kitchen, presumably to get things ready for dinner. And then, in perfect comedic timing, like his image inducer starts freaking out, and then he freaks out. Amanda is kind of surprisingly calm. I guess she was kind of expecting it, right?
I think Amanda's high.
Right.
I think Amanda smoked and was just way too chill for this entire interaction.
I get that. I relate.
Yeah, because she's just like, it's fine.
Yeah, because then the dad walks back into the living room, and Kurt freaks out. So before the dad can clock him, he teleports out. This was the first minor sign of like the powers don't work completely the same. Because isn't he supposed to leave like a whiff of sulfur or something?
Yeah, they don't really touch on the sulfur stuff from the brimstone dimension here.
I would have loved. I know they wouldn't have done this, but this still would have been family friendly and so funny if the dad walked in and was like, did somebody fart? Like
yeah, if he just like walked in the room and it was just like yeah. And that would have worked. Yeah, I don't know if the ASMR did. I just did a really loud like snorting noise. So,
and then we see that Kurt actually teleported to the kitchen, which I don't know why he thought that would be a good idea, because
that's the worst spot to teleport.
Maybe he in the moment he assumed both parents were walking back in. I'm giving him credit for that, but it was actually Amanda's mom still facing away because she was at the sink like getting the vase filled with water for the flowers and stuff, and then he gets the inducer to work just in time to turn back on as she turns around, and he startles her, but not because of the blue,
just because he appeared suddenly into the room like a fucking creep.
Yeah, and what was she was like, I didn't even hear you come in. His excuse was like, I have soft shoes or something?
Yeah, very soft shoes.
That's not how that works. There's a door, there's floors, like, sure.
I don't know. I'm not a ninja. I don't know how to get into rooms quietly.
You know what? I'll give him credit for this because he's supposed to be very animal-like, right? And this little one right here is a ghost. She's technically 10 pounds, but she walks around the house like she's made of air.
Rod pointed at his demon cat.
Yeah, so I kind of get that. It's like, oh, how'd you get here?
And then we jump into first person mode, and it has the vibe of a horror movie, of like somebody coming towards the window, like a Michael Myers style scenario.
Yeah. That's why I forgot about that. Yeah, watching the whole situation. And then
Toad just jumps through the window like super, like totally like just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna make the biggest noise possible.
So all that, Curtis successfully missed all the glitches with his inducer thing, and then Toad comes in and fucks things up. But that's his kind of MO. And I think I forgot to make a note about this, but I think this was the episode where I'd mentioned in the first season that I liked how Toad had the same music cue every time he shows up.
Yes,
so that definitely became his theme.
It was his theme, and this episode they actually added lyrics to it.
Yeah, and it's a whole ass song. I mean, it's only like less than 2 minutes, but it's still like there's full verses and stuff.
They spell his name in the song.
Yeah, that's the chorus. Yeah. And I did look it up. It's someone unofficial credited to the William, I can't remember his whole name now, the composer of the series. I definitely think he did the score part, right? The track or whatever. I can't find any information on who that rapper is, and I don't know what William sounds like. I'm going to assume that's not what William sounds like. More likely, probably the same reason the internet is looking for music from the 80s that was only featured in 17 seconds of a porn, is that it was like some friend of a friend that they bought out,
right.
That, and in a time where there was no digital records of anything. So if it was on a slip of paper in a ledger that got thrown away or burned in a fire or something, then no one would ever know. And so like this had... it had to have been someone that like the composer knew, unless it was him and he just sounds way different than you'd expect from the way he looks, that there was like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if Toad's theme had lyrics now? And we made the most on-the-nose thing ever.
Ever. And then I love that they still continue the back and forth of, like, Toad stealing the image inducer, but also blinding the dad. And, like, you just get this tremendous back and forth of, like, close call, close call, close call. Gets the image inducer back on, knocks the vase over that was the grandma's, and catches it just in time as he's human and stuff like that. But then at the end of it, it's like, oh, yeah, Toad got the inducer, runs off. And then Amanda is just the most awkward moment possible.
Yeah, the whole house is destroyed because they've been tussling throughout the entire like kitchen and living room.
Yeah, kitchen and living room are totally fucked. So,
and that dad had the worst thing though, because can you imagine having that Toad spit on your face?
Nope.
Like, ugh.
And then Amanda is she makes like some awkward joke to like try to cut the tension, and then it's just nope, doesn't work.
Yeah, I actually thought the parents were going to be like, shit happens. Mutants are here, teenagers are weird, or whatever. We find out later that was not the case, which understandably so. He's got, her
they
dad.
just decimated your house, so it's kind of hard to be like, here's the thing. Remove mutant from the scenario. A person just attacked your daughter's boyfriend in your living room.
Yeah, and spit some sort of cocoon thing on your head.
Even get rid of that. I'm just saying, if somebody dives through a window and attacks your girlfriend's boyfriend in your house, you probably don't want her seeing that guy.
Yeah.
Regardless of powers. And blue.
So then we kind of get the payoff to that situation because we are at the ski lodge, I guess Arrow Rose. Wanda's showing up, or she's in like one of the, I don't even know what they're called. Is it the
gondola?
Trolley? Is it gondola? And like one other guy, well, it's weird. One other guy, but also a lot of people are in there.
Yeah, that was a weird animation choice. But at first it looks like she's in it by herself, and then this one dude appears, and instantly you clock the Toad teeth on it, on that first guy. Hits on her, she instantly knows. She throws him out of the lift and then gets off, and apparently there were a bunch of other people who just saw her murder this person and were totally okay with it.
Yeah, and then like another guy walks up to her and she's like, this is also Toad.
Right, because he gets the scarf, but he does the Toad jump with his body language to get it. But she sees Pyro getting on a snowboard, getting onto the regular ski lift, and she just cuts in front of a bunch of people, and I refuse to believe all those ski lodge Karens would have been okay with that.
So we chalk it up to Wanda changed everyone's perception for all of that?
No, Wanda does not give a shit. Of anybody, Wanda is like she's the angsty goth girl who doesn't get good things. Like, she's the opposite of Rogue in that regard. I don't think she gives a shit about changing stuff.
And she does the most like Y2K pursuit ever, where she's like, the best way to get Pyro is to snowboard to him.
Yeah. She gets on the lift and then realizes she's next to Eric, the ski instructor, and has like a little bit of the flirty moment. And that's where I was like, wait, is this actually a ski instructor? Because they didn't do the Toad teeth on this version of the character.
He was kind of convincing, and he had a more like heavy accent that like it was done a lot more polished this time.
Yeah, he learned he needed to trick her better.
Which is so awful.
Yeah, but she gets off, and then she, like you said, proceeds to snowboard after him, and then they see the big like Magneto dome in the distance.
Which once again, no one saw.
Everybody's okay with it.
Because it's not like a distant area, right? This is well within like the ski lift.
It's within the resort. Yeah. But then one of the weird Magneto balls pops up and gasses Wanda, and Toad sees it from a distance.
So his weird stalky pursuit gets kind of justified in the sitcom logic because he sees.
Yeah. Yep. It sounds gross when you say it out loud too.
Yep. So is this when we see Kurt in his room sulking, and Toad breaks into his room?
Yeah.
And he's trying to get Kurt's help, but Kurt is just fighting him. He's like, I'm forbidden to see Amanda now because of you. And like, why would I help you?
And Toad calls him Night Creeper.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, he literally is like, hey, Night Creeper. And it's like, the dude who just tracked a woman to a ski resort, followed her as she got off the ski lift, is literally calling somebody else a creeper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I just put together now not why Amanda did it, but why the story happened of Amanda hitting the inducer when Toad was watching is so that Toad would realize that Kurt had the inducer. Got it. Okay. I'm just putting that together.
God damn it, Rod.
This is why I'm asked to focus groups a lot, because I do things like that and they're like, oh, is that a problem? Like, no, that's just a me thing. But that's not your design. They're
Which is why it's shocking that you get asked into the focus groups.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, well, we want to know stuff like this because this is stuff we can't plan for. It's like, you got me there. You couldn't plan for that, thing. Is like, if more people are like me, then maybe, there should be something more obvious. But yeah, he kind of reveals that like he was already pining after Wanda anyway, but he's more jealous because he sees the relationship that Kurt and Amanda have had. And then he tells Kurt's like, well, then give me my inducer back so I can keep having that thing with Amanda. And Toad's like, well, the bummer is it's out in this dome thing. So if you help me, then we can get it back. And so he agrees to that, I guess, without questioning it at all.
Yeah, I mean, Toad's still a little shit weasel, but Nightcrawler's just so desperate to not be blue in front of his girlfriend. Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, fine, whatever.
Yeah, we get back inside the dome, and Wanda's waking up. Mm-hmm. Magneto's giving the villain dad monologue. Is like, it's not the diabolical plans to take over the world, but it's like, this is why I did what I had to do.
Yeah, you get the exposition dump where it's like, I made sure Pyro left a trail of clues for you because we needed to talk, and you didn't seem like you were gonna talk otherwise. And then he gives the like beggings for sympathy when you don't deserve it, of like, oh, I had to leave you at the sanitarium. It was for your own good. Yeah. And Magneto's one of those characters where the modern version of him I do really like. This version of him, I also like that he's just bad. Yeah, like there's not the sympathetic version of Magneto in this story. So I like the different versions of the character in that way.
Yeah, because he started the whole first season being the villain in the shadow, the big bad in the shadows. So yeah, we got that from the beginning. She fully rejects it, and he's like, "Well, I figured you'd say that. So here's what we're gonna do.
I've got other means.
I have this mutant here, and his power is literally to gaslight. And so Mastermind shows up and like is basically like, I don't know, like rewriting the data in her brain, like her memories.
Yep. And it's like, hopefully she's not going to be too damaged from what happens.
It's like, what does this do to her? I guess, if they're going to go all the way back down to like when she was like, 8 or 9 or something, and then rewrite every situation from then on. And it kind of reminded me of like in the first Captain Marvel movie when the Skrulls are going through Carol's memories.
I don't remember most of it.
Oh, really? I know this is not a popular opinion, but I really like the first Captain Marvel movie, and I watch it like fairly regularly.
I'm okay with it. I just haven't rewatched it recently.
So. Yeah. Now, and I get it if it's not anybody's favorite. There's a couple scenes, but specifically the first one where the Skrulls go into Carol's memories to try to like see things in her memories and stuff. That's kind of what the vibe it had in it.
They changed multiple memories. It was the drop off at the sanitarium became a memory of going to the carousel with her and Pietro. It was her getting fed in the sanitarium, and that turned into a picnic in the park. And then the Sentinel fight became a memory of fireworks.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's what it was supposed to be. It was funny because I don't know if this was a new animation or I just like realized it because they focused on it. But like the Sentinel belly flops onto Magneto. It was almost comedic. Like,
yeah, I mean, obviously we know that Pietro was able to get him out of there in time, but it was kind of like, you're a pretty powerful mutant. You should be able to avoid the falling Sentinel.
Yeah. It was just the way they animated the Sentinel. He had his like arms out and like landed like on. It was like, that's so funny. But then outside the dome, Kurt and Toad are like watching, and Kurt's like, so in there, and then Toad's like, yeah, all you gotta do is teleport me in, and then I'll do the rescuing. And I think his plan is that if he rescues Wanda, he can like win her affection. But then he also reveals like he's gonna turn into that Eric, the ski instructor, to do it. So I don't know if his plan was like just to never turn the thing off, which that's par for the course for the sitcoms at that time.
Yeah, it's the stuff that now you would instantly get flagged on like all social media for being problematic of it. But it was like, if it was with good intentions, it was okay to trick people. That's why like there was just like certain characters from John Hughes movies of like the best friend of the girl who was trying to win her over but lost to the jock, and it was like, oh no, that dude he wasn't the right guy for her either because he was creepy in a different way. Like, but yeah, they teleport inside, and they do have the moment right before where it's like, we got this in common that we're both hiding who we are, and it's like a little bit of a jab at Kurt. Is like, it was kind of heartfelt, but at the same time it was like, you're also like, you're not out there accepting who you are like you kind of claim to be, which we've even seen with Kurt in the previous episodes where it was like when everybody was getting outed as being a mutant and Kurt was pretty quiet about it.
Yeah, so he's like you make points. Yeah. And so they get in, and they stave off Mastermind. We find out later that Mastermind was able to complete his rewrite process or whatever.
Well, before they get in there with Mastermind, you do see they have a moment where they're like being chased by a very confused and silent Colossus too.
Oh, that's right. They did the Metal Gear thing.
Yeah, hiding behind boxes and stuff.
Great, but like it only like did one level of alert for Colossus instead of the full thing. So, yeah, because he saw that was another thing. You see the teleport, but Nightcrawler is able to do silent ones as well. Like, because sometimes he has the sound effect, and this time they specifically showed it without the sound. But so then they go off, stave off Mastermind, but Toad can't get the shackles off Wanda, and Kurt's like, okay, fine, it was like this, and he just teleports her out of the thing, and then literally hands Wanda to, I guess, Eric.
Yeah, at the time he was in Eric mode.
They're like, cool, and they rescue her. They teleport her out of there, and Magneto shows up with the other acolytes and stuff, and Mastermind's like, well, I was able to finish it, and he's like, cool, well, just let him go, because that's all I wanted to do.
Yep.
Because now she's not going to hunt me down.
Yeah, she's not going to try to murder me if she has happy memories of me.
Yeah.
This is the unsympathetic Magneto. There is no reason I feel bad for this dude right now.
Yeah. And then they show the whole crew, the ex-crew inside the ski lodge, and Wanda's like looking out the window. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be the big orb that flew away, or
I think it was
smaller,
one of the little sentry ones.
Yeah, like the little like escape pod things or something. She just sees something like fly away.
Well, Nightcrawler sees that.
Oh,
and then Wanda's coming too.
That's right.
And Eric's arms, and that's when they kiss. And then he like turns it off midway through, and she realizes she's kissing Toad. But he also shrinks a little bit. Yeah. Because Eric was definitely taller than Toad.
Yeah, like Toad's like 5'3" and Eric's like 6'2" or something. Right?
She pushes him off when she realizes who it is.
But then Nightcrawler's like, well, he did risk his life to save yours. And this was the most like Family Matters Full House endings. Like, well, I guess it was okay. The only thing they were missing was like comedic like music cue stab.
or it would have just been the like everybody does the half laugh, and that's where it's the freeze frame with the credits that start to roll in it. Yeah. Then he makes like some comment that like grosses her out, and she leaves the room fully.
Oh, he eats a fly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's why he was like, "Why am I my own worst enemy?" It's like, be yourself, but also like pick your moments.
Yeah, but don't eat bugs.
Yeah, or like not make that the first thing that happens right after that.
Yep. And then we see Kurt and Amanda are talking. And she's basically like, yeah, my parents don't want me seeing you anymore, but I'm obviously breaking that rule, so.
She's still high.
Yeah, she just does not give a shit, man.
That's the thing, she doesn't seem the defiant kind, but she does. But she seems genuine about what she said.
She's respectfully defiant, not like rebel defiant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm not giving up on us. So she's in it for the long haul, at least,
That's sweet. I don't know how that's going to work out for high school students trying to sneak around their parents, but that's sweet.
Nope.
Then back at the Brotherhood house, Wanda's like putting away some stuff. I guess she's like moving
back in.
And Toad is just like, so you're just not mad at your dad anymore? She's like, yeah, I don't know why. I was, and then I wasn't. And then Toad's like, even after and then Pietro like stops him. He's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Grabs him and brings him into another room. Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, she's good now. She's not trying to murder us or anyone else.
If she's happy, she stays here. And that's where it's the, like, you want Toad to have a good moment, but then you see, like, whether he's stupid or, just seeded to be evil at some point, he's like, you're right. She'll stay here, and then I get to keep, like, coming on to her, basically.
It's giving me, I don't know if you ever saw this movie, but it's the same energy that Chris Pratt's character has in Passengers with Jennifer Lawrence.
I haven't seen it. I do know the entire premise of it, though.
So it's just like that, ew. Like,
yeah.
You're, obviously we're the audience, we have a more like zoomed out view, but like in your real life, even if there's any parallel situation, like where do you see this going if your relationship starts at deception?
If it's based on lie. Well, and then he's like, yeah, there's hope for me yet. And it very much gave the energy of Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance? Like it gave me that vibe right there.
That's really funny. Yep. And then
the Toad rap where you actually get to hear the lyrics as he's hopping off, where they spell his name in his own song, which I kind of love.
I love that he's the first solo character to get a theme song in the show. I think the other one was the girls, right? The Sirens.
The Sirens, but that wasn't, to your point, it wasn't a solo.
it wasn't solo, and it wasn't really a theme. It was something they performed. Kind of. Like, I guess they didn't really. They did the music video and stuff. Like, it was.
Yeah, they were a music video rather than just being a theme. It's not like, the Wonder Woman theme from the DCEU stuff.
Yeah, the one memorable theme from that.
The one good thing
franchise.
From the entirety of it.
Yeah, that had to do with one single electric cello player and the composer.
So that's how this episode wraps up with. I'm hoping this is all seed planting kind of scenario, and we're gonna, I hope they bookend the season with Acolytes and Brotherhood coming together against the X-Men, and I think we get a big battle at the end of this season. That's my gut check, at least. So,
and I guess they put the seed in there for the Morlocks to be doing some more stuff, right, with Evan being with them.
Yeah, and then I think we're due, and again, we're watching all this for the first time, guys, so if I'm saying something that you don't spoil based on my instinct here, I feel like we're due for another Apocalypse-related episode. Because we got the one in the second season, and I think we probably should be getting one before the end of the third season, at least. That would be it'd be weird to skip the entirety of the third season without another Apocalypse moment.
Yeah, that would be fun. But I guess like the big thing we're supposed to get is that Wanda's no longer on the hunt for Magneto or Pietro.
Yeah,
maybe that was just like a writing thing, so they could do some other plans. I don't know.
And it also sets up for what happens if it becomes undone. How does she react to that? So,
that would be fun to see. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like one thing if it's like, oh, he abandoned you and was this awful father, but then he also manipulated you. So,
Oh, that'll be fun. That's now we're getting into like MCU Wanda, right? Like the rage.
Well, the MCU Wanda is also to an extent based off of the comic Wanda, who killed a bunch of Avengers.
Yeah.
So her murdering people is not just in the MCU.
I'm, just to be honest, I'm kind of looking forward to it in the stories, because I'll admit I enjoyed the Avengers whole era of stuff. Like, but I'm more excited about X-Men and the Mutants coming into it, because I know I'm not the first one to point this out, but like the MCU has been around long enough now that there's an entire generation that only knows Marvel through the Avengers lens.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
When the X-Men.
All the X-Men movies, all the Spider-Man, and even Amazing Spider-Man, the original Fantastic Fours, some generations, they see us talk about it, but they've not experienced it themselves.
And those are all like one-offs, and like, I know people argue with me about this, but like not great movies compared to most of the MCU stuff. And so now they're going to see like who the real heroes are. I know that's a hot take for some people, but like the Avengers are the police of the universe, and the X-Men for the most part are the mutants, are the actual living, like, don't really have a choice in this matter kind of thing.
Well, and then you also look at it from like what the eras were. Like the 60s, it was all about the Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man blew up in that era. The X-Men came out, but the book was almost effectively canceled until Giant Size happened. Avengers were around, but as the X-Men became more popular in the 90s, the Avengers decreased in popularity. Like the Avengers were not hot shit. It really wasn't until 2005, 2006, like Brian Michael Bendis took over, and you started getting both at the timing of the Marvel movies popping off with Iron Man and stuff like that. But like for a while, the Avengers were like second class heroes. Like you had fucking Mantis as one of the main members of the Avengers, and like, what's her name? The girl from the Eternals was on the team at one point, and I'm like, I would occasionally pick up Avengers books back then. I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Like, I don't care about the Jack of Hearts, and that's actually a character who was a fucking Avenger.
Yeah. So it was just, I'm way more excited about seeing the X-Men come back, especially now that we've actually seen 3 or 4 of them in the MCU.
I mean, you got Professor X, you have Beast,
and Wolverine. Well, I guess I mean like the permanent ones, like Beast, we're assuming is at least at the beginning.
Well, that's also a multiverse scenario. That's not the main continuity.
Yeah. And then Wolverine.
I mean, technically, Kamala is in the comics a X-Men now at this point. So
yeah. So,
which I still love. I have a random autographed cover of Ms. Marvel just because she walked into my comic book store, and in LA they will just sign random books, and it's like, oh yeah. People will pay a good amount of money for a signing to meet her, and I was just like, I grabbed my books and I looked and I was like, oh, that's signed for me. Cool.
So yeah, go shop at Golden Apple.
Yeah, seriously.
Hoping for a cool comic thing, or a bunch of people do that. Like Dan Povenmire, sometimes when he's like traveling and stuff, he'll just doodle on things and see if people find his Phineas and Ferb doodles, and he'll post it on TikTok so that
somebody
it's
will
real.
Look for it. Yeah,
we'll know that it's real. So there's not like a knockoff out there somewhere. It'd be like this is this restaurant. Come find me.
I know there are definitely some authors who will do that when they're at like airports. They'll just go into the airport bookstore and just like sign like 3 or 4 books and
that's fun.
Just like leave it as a surprise for people kind of scenario.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so excited for X-Men. I guess where I was going with that is like I would not be mad if Wanda just like kind of offed most of the Avengers. I know that's not totally likely, especially with RDJ coming back. But
this is our first time talking about it since. So like short version, RDJ is an alternate version of Doctor Doom, like an alternate universe version of him. Anything's possible, especially if they're doing Secret Wars. In the Secret Wars original comic, the 80s one, not the new Secret Wars from the 2010s, literally like people are like getting crushed under mountains and shit. Anything could happen. So
my 2-sentence take, or like very short take on that whole thing, was like, we'll see. I'm always of the let's see the movie and then I'll go from there. However,
calm the fuck down. At least wait until we see what it is first before you freak out about it.
My gut reaction though kind of came from the combination of him coming back and the Russos, because outside of the plots of the movies, it really feels like Disney being like, investors, please, we're bringing the team back.
Oh yeah.
But I see how it could work in the story, because if you're going to close the multiverse saga, whatever you think about it, bad or good or indifferent, it is kind of poetic to have the guy that started things, to finish things before the X-Men just fully take over.
Since we're throwing shit against the wall, seeing what sticks, here's what I think be the pettiest thing to ever do, but it would also actively work in character. He debuts as Doom, and the first thing he does is he appears in the sky above that big arena of Kangs and just offs the entire thing.
I remember, I forget if you or somebody, I heard somebody else mention that too. That would be a great,
it was not me. Me saying that right now is the first time I've said that. So
that would be a dope show of power.
It's just annihilate Kang the Conqueror from existence.
And did you see Iman Vellani did an interview with Eric Voss at New Rockstars, and she had a theory?
No,
because she admitted she's not privy to any information about this particular part of like the storyline and stuff, but she thinks like it'd be really cool if, I'm not familiar with the character's name, Molecule Man, if Kang was like combined with Molecule Man in this universe, and Doom seeded Kangs throughout history to be kind of like the I don't know, like sleeper agents or whatever, to kind of set off things in timelines. But I don't know.
It seems like an unnecessary thing to do.
But that would be like the retcon because of real life events.
I mean, I legit think it was Kangs were coming together to get power. And the way that you cancel it out is you literally just have Doom annihilate it. So.
Yeah. I saw one meme today that now I kind of want, even though it's like not likely, was someone had like a bunch of photos of Terrence Howard in the first Iron Man movie, and they're like, Marvel has the funniest opportunity to recast Kang right now.
God, I would love it. And the best part is he would be playing against Robert Downey Jr., who would be making infinitely more money compared to him being Kang.
Right.
It wouldn't be like a $1 million, $2 million deal. It would be like a $1 million to fucking $50 million deal.
Or, I mean, I guess RDJ is making a lot of money from this, but
that's what I said. He's probably getting $50 million for it.
I wouldn't be mad at Terrence getting like an absurd amount of money, just like kind of offset the weirdness of what happened.
They will never do it. They will never. That I will say they will never do. You can make your storyline predictions. Yeah. Disney is too petty to give him that kind of money, especially after he like was pissy about it in public and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do. I saw a couple like TMZ style on the street interviews with Jonathan Majors, and he's remaining cordial. I think there might be some hope there for like, maybe a James Gunn situation where like if you kind of stay under the radar for a couple of years and something will happen. I don't know. The one thing is like, of all the characters, that's probably the easiest one to recast, right? Because this whole thing is variants.
Right. And like his variants in like, they don't always look like him and stuff like that. So yeah,
it's just such a shame that they established so much of them looking alike. In particular, they might have learned from that. Like, okay, variants are all different now.
Yeah, we need more Loki Sylvie scenarios rather than Kang in One Who Remains.
Or even most of the Lokis, right? Like, most of the Lokis we see are all completely
especially
different.
all the ones in the Void, no doubt.
Yeah, the species and ages and stuff, so...
I still don't know why it's alligator Loki instead of crocodile Loki, because then you could have had the awful pun of croaky. And I think that's how we have to end this episode.
Yes, okay.
Because I'm making puns and I hate myself as I'm fucking saying them. So.
It's getting late, yeah. So thanks for joining us. If you have any thoughts, make sure to drop them in the comments for either the YouTube upload or official Instagram post about this episode. If you like what you heard, we'd appreciate a rating on the podcast app you're choosing. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, and CastBox. What would your favorite Kang variant be? Let us know. I guess there's comments everywhere now.
There's no way people are still listening right now.